What's up everyone, Grillin with that here. Welcome back to part 2 of our whole beef tenderloin cook. So in the last video, we cut up the tenderloin into fillets, grilled them, made a nice mushroom sauce to go on top, and it was delicious. And today we're gonna finish off with the side piece that was left from that whole tenderloin. I'll link my earlier video down below, plus I'll have a link to it up top so you guys can see how we started and how we got to the point that we are at now. Here is the piece that we'll be working with today. So as you can see, it's the whole leftover side of the beef tenderloin. It looks pretty good as is. So normally you can actually separate it right down here and get kind of 2 small pieces, but we're going to use up everything that we have, really just trying to maximize our use of the beef. But before I throw this on the grill, I will tie it up. So again, similar to what we did in my other videos, is meat that's shaped evenly will cook evenly. And this thing is just kind of, you know, all over the place now because it comes from a whole beef tenderloin. So we're just gonna put it all together. I'm gonna tie a butcher's twine around it so it holds its shape a little better, season it up, and throw it on a big green egg to smoke it. Okay, let's start and prep our tenderloin roast. As you can see, it's got some stuff coming out of it. It's not super even. I'm gonna leave all this fat in and just cook it with it. It'll just make things a little bit easier for now. So again, the point here is to make it evenly shaped. Something sort of like this, right? So it's kind of even all the way around and it'll cook evenly and no one part will overcook. So let me take my butcher's twine and go like this so you guys can see. Put this underneath here and just make a double knot. Just pull it pretty firmly together and loop this around one more time. Okay, now you want to leave a little bit of this out because we're going to use this piece to finish it all off at the end. Once you get your first piece tied up, we're going to make a loop like this and go underneath the roast. And now we're going to pull it here to bring it all together. So you've got your second piece tied up. Okay, so we're going to keep repeating this, making a loop, going underneath, bringing it around, and continue to kind of pull it together, tying it up, making sure it's nice and even, just like so. Okay, again, another loop, go underneath, pull it around, and make sure this doesn't get stuck here anywhere. Okay, and you'll just continue doing this until the whole roast is tied up. If any piece here gets a little loose, you can just go back and pull on it again, but this is kind of what you're going for. Okay, so again, another loop, go underneath, bring it around, and this will be our last one here. Okay, so there you go. So that looks pretty good. So one side is done. Now we're going to flip it over so you can check kind of how these are looking on this side. You can adjust the twine, make sure that it's nice and even. Okay, and again, you can go back here and just kind of tighten them up if they start coming loose. Okay. There we go. So that looks pretty good. So now we're gonna take our twine and you're gonna kind of measure out how much you need to get to the end and leave a little bit extra. So I'm gonna cut it right here. So cut it right about here. Leave yourself a little room to work with. Okay, so now we've got this piece. So now we're gonna go underneath each one. Make a loop. And then this will kind of hold its shape on this side now. Okay. Okay, now we'll flip it over. Bring it here. Now remember this piece that we left. Now we're gonna tie these two together. Make a nice double knot. Keep it nice and tight. Cut off the excess. Get this out of here. And our roast is prepped. So it looks much better than it did before. It's a little bit more even. I mean, this side sticks out just a little bit, but that's okay. I mean, it's not perfect, but it'll be much better than not tying it at all. You can also cut it a little differently. You can cut individual lengths of your twine and just tie it around on each loop. I find doing it this way is a little bit better. It looks a little nicer at the end. So that's the way that I like to do it. For the seasoning, I'm going to be using Hardcore Carnivore Black. It's my go-to beef rub. You can really use any steak seasoning you'd like. I like this particular one because it's not overpowering. It still lets the beef flavors come through, yet it has enough of flavor to kind of really enhance whatever cuts of beef you're cooking with. Okay, our roast is tied up, so now let's go ahead and season it. Before I hit it with that HC Black rub, I'm gonna use a little Dijon mustard for the binder and the outside. My ultimate goal for this tenderloin roast is after it's done, we're also going to whip up a nice little mustard sauce to go on top after it's ready. So this should complement that nicely at the end. I'm using regular Dijon mustard, so just coat your roast with the mustard. Just rub it around a little bit like so. Make sure you get the bottom too and the edges. Okay, you don't need a whole lot of it, just a little bit. Again, the purpose of the mustard is to help the seasoning stick to the meat a little better and maybe bring out a little bit of those mustard flavors after it's all said and done. Okay, and we're gonna take our seasoning and just start applying it on each side of our tenderloin roast. So this looks pretty good to me. Nicely coated all the way around. So now that it's seasoned, I'm gonna let this guy sit at room temperature on my countertop for about, I don't know, 35, 45 minutes. It's gonna start coming up to room temperature. It's gonna start to absorb those seasonings, all those flavors. And then we'll go fire up the big green egg and get this thing going. All right, got the big green egg fired up. Got it filled with lump charcoal, little fire going in the middle. Before I put my plate setter, I'm gonna throw in a handful of these post oak wood chips. Just gonna spread them around. You can also use wood chunks, just use like 2 or 3 pieces for this cook, but I have these, so I'll use these up instead. Now I'll put in my plate setter. Now my grate goes on top. And this thing's ready for the tenderloin. I'm gonna bring the egg up to about 250, 275, and then I'll put my tenderloin on. You can do it the exact same way on any other grill smoker or even in the oven. If you do it inside, you just won't get that smokiness from the wood chips that I'm using today. Grill's up to temperature, so let's go ahead and put our tenderloin on. It was sitting at room temperature for a good 45 minutes, sweating out nicely. Let's get this guy going. Let's take it as is, put it right in the middle of the grate. There's one last thing I'm gonna do before I close the lid, and that's to put my thermometer right in the middle of our tenderloin. So this way we can keep an eye on those internal temperatures. Perfect. Let's close the lid. For temperature monitoring, I'm using my Smoke X4, so I've got the alarm set for 125. Once it goes off, I'll come out, take a look at this guy, and that should be ready by then. Anytime you're cooking a bigger roast like this, it's super important to keep an eye on those internal temperatures. It's all on temperature monitoring, and that's how you ensure it's gonna be a perfectly cooked, medium rare finish. You kinda go by time, it's easy to overcook or undercook your roast. So invest in a good thermometer, keep an eye on those temperatures, and it's gonna come out perfect every single time. All right, so we hit at 125. Let's turn this alarm off, and let's see how our tenderloin is doing. Oh yeah, that's looking awesome. Smells amazing. Got that nice little bark formed from the Hardcore Carnivore Black and the smoke. So this thing's ready to pull. Let's go ahead and take it off the grill. Let's get this guy off and bring it inside. All right, we've got our tenderloin inside. So now it needs to rest. A roast this size needs a solid 20-25 minute rest. It's going to allow the juices to redistribute, absorb all that moisture back into those fibers, and it's going to be super delicious after it's done. So let's put this to the side for now. So let's get started now on our mustard sauce to go on top of the tenderloin later. So I've got about a half of a diced shallot. And to that I'm gonna add about a tablespoon of regular Dijon mustard. Maybe let's do 2 tablespoons. So this is the same mustard that I used for the binder. And now I'm gonna add a tablespoon of this coarse ground mustard. I'm not sure how well you can see, but this is basically this kind of a coarse ground mustard. So same as the Dijon mustard, about 2 tablespoons or so. A little bit more. Okay, so this is gonna give it some additional texture. Okay, and now I'm gonna add about 2 tablespoons of avocado oil. So this will lighten it up a little bit. Let me stir it all together. This looks pretty good to me right there. It's a nice consistency. You won't need a lot of this on the tenderloin when it's sliced, so just a little bit is gonna really elevate those flavors to another level. All right, I think my beef has been resting long enough. I'm super hungry, it smells unbelievable. Let's go ahead and slice this guy up. So let me move this off to my cutting board. As you can see, that bark, that crust on the outside is all courtesy of Hardcore Carnivore Black, and some of that smoke from those wood chips that we used created this nice, unbelievable color. It still has the butcher's twine around it, so just gonna be mindful of that, but let's just slice it right down the middle, right here, and see what it looks like. Here we go. Oh man, that is perfect. Perfect for a tenderloin. Perfect medium rare, which is exactly what you wanted to do. Let me cut out a couple slices and give it a taste test. Oh man, that is nice. Even has a little smoke ring. Show you if you can see that or not. You can see in the camera the little smoke ring down on the bottom. Again, that's all from the wood chunks that we used, and it's super juicy, as you can see. I mean, this thing was resting for a good 25-30 minutes and it's still packed full of juice, which of course is amazing. Let me make a couple more slices. I am super happy with how this tenderloin turned out. That finish on it is perfect. Let me cut off a piece here. Let me get my mustard sauce, put a little bit on. Let's give it a taste test. Oh man. The beef just melts in your mouth. A medium rare tenderloin is probably the most undercut meat you can make. You get that smoky flavor right away. A little bit of the seasoning from the HC Black, and then that nice kind of tangy finish, a little spicy finish from the mustard as well. This is super good. Let me cut out another piece here, because this is some good eating right here. A little bit more of that mustard. Oh boy. Even better than the last bite. Absolutely delicious. So when you make this at home, roast some potatoes, do mashed potatoes, and you have a quick and easy dinner. And again, this all came from that big tenderloin, beef tenderloin piece that I used the other day. We did the steaks first, and now I roasted it whole, that end piece that was left over. So it's a good way to use up the whole tenderloin. So next time you see it at the store, don't be intimidated by it, don't be afraid to get it. Bring it home, cut it up into steaks, save the bigger piece for the roast, and you have a delicious, delicious family dinner. Man, I am loving this, absolutely loving how this turned out. That's gonna be it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Let me know down in the comments what you think about it. If you like the video, like what I'm doing, give it a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys next time.